Namaskar. Welcome to week 6 of Fundamental of Forensic Accounting and Fraud Investigation. In this week, we will be learn about the law, the Benford's law, which is a prominent law in the area of forensic accounting. We will also learn the fraud analytics, how the analysis helpful to the investigators, what are the tactics of fraud analytics, how Benford's law and fraud analytics are related to each other. So, in this whole week we will be learn about the detailed overview of the Benford's law and the tools and techniques and the fraud analytics in the investigation process. Benford's law is also called as the significant digit law or the first digit law. It refers to the occurrence of leading digit in many real life sources of data, like the length of the river, like the cost of the gas bill, like the charges of electricity charges, the population size and many more. Whereas the fraud analysis refers to the systematic use of data analysis techniques, the statistical tools, the technology to identify, detect and prevent fraudulent activities within financial and operational data. It involves examination of large volume of data, of the data that is related to the transactional data, that is related to the financial data, to uncover unusual pattern or any anomalies or any irregularities that may incurred fraud in the future. So, this is the meaning of Benford's law and fraud analytics. Let us understand one by one. Forensic analytics is the combination of data analysis and the forensic accounting. The investigative technique. So, there are three main combination in this forensic analysis: the data analysis, which is also called the fraud analytics, the forensic accounting that we have learned in the previous years, that is the meaning and the process of forensic accounting, and the investigation techniques. So, investigation techniques involves the skills, involves the tactics, involves the methodology, what are the investigators are using. Forensic analytics help in detecting the fraud by analyzing large volume of data rather than a small sample. So, forensic analytics, in the forensic analytics the investigator try to analyze the whole data set which has been available as the evidences, rather than identifying the samples as the auditors do for the auditing processes. The main aim of is to identify the unusual pattern, the rare events, or to identify the red flags, which often called as the needles in the haystack. These unusual pattern may indicate fraud, errors or internal control weaknesses. Forensic analytics support both fraud detection and fraud prevention. Advances in computing power and data management have made forensic analytics more effective. So, it includes the computing power, the computing analytics and the data management, the financial data management or the transactional data management. It enables continue monitoring and early identification of suspicious activity. So, as we learned in the previous week that how the early detection is helpful to the investigators. So, this forensic analysis help the investigator for in the early identification of the frauds. Investigators use forensic analytics to focus on high risk transactions and the entity. So, these are the meaning of forensic analytics, where we can say that it is very helpful to the fraud investigators while investigating the cases. So, the point is why it is important, why the fraud analytics is required, what is the need of fraud analytics. So, fraud analytics uh, is important. Why? Because due to the digital mode of transactions are increasing. So, the rapid growth in the digital payment, online banking, fintech platform and the e-commerce has significantly increased the transaction volume in the country. So, people can use the mobile wallet, people can use the online banking, people can use the card as well, people can use the QR code and UPI for the faster and convenient transactions. So, small amount can be transferred from one account to another account through a very simply way. Anybody can use the online transactions and the digital mode of payment. So, this increase the circulation of money uh, in the country, which also increase the chances of frauds in the economy. Manual review is not longer feasible for such large data set. So, we cannot think of like thousands and lakhs of data or transactions can be manually checked or analyzed. So, we have to take help of any type of software or tools and techniques to analyze the data. The it the large volume making fraud analytics essential for monitoring and analyzing transactions at the scale. So, due to the large data set, due to the large volume of the data set, the requirement of the fraud analytics has increased. Secondly, limitations of transactional audit. So, in the transactional audit, which was rely on the sampling and the periodic review, which may fall the detect hidden or well concealed frauds, because there is a time period of annual review, there is a uh, time period of review of the books of account, and also at that particular period of time the auditor not able to review the each and every transactions of the organization. So, they use the sampling technique, but this way fraud analytics, the investigator can analyze the whole data at any point of time. So, annual review is not required. So, surprise review can be done through the fraud analytics. They are not designed like the traditional audits are not designed for real time monitoring, and they may overlook small but repeated reputational the fraudulent transactions. So, each and transactions cannot be monitored through the manual review. Fraud analytics overcome these limitations by analyzing the complete data set continuously. So, this is the advantage of fraud analytics and the limitations of the traditional auditing system. Early detection is very important. We have already learned in the previous week how early detection in the money laundering case will helpful to the forensic investigators. So, fraud analytics enable early detection by identifying abnormal transaction pattern and unusual behavior as soon as they occur. Early detection help minimize financial loss. It also prevent the acceleration of the fraud and reduce the legal and reputational damage of the organization or of the country. So, early detection will help and early detection can be possible through the fraud analytics. Cost and time efficiency. Uh, Automated fraud analytics tool reduce the time and the manpower requirement for the fraud detection. So, due to the time constraint, auditors traditional in the traditional the procedure, auditors usually use the sampling technique, due to the limitations of the time constraint. So, through the fraud analytics we can analyze the whole data set with a stipulated time period and without using much manpower. They allow faster investigations, low operational cost and improve the efficiency compared to the traditional methods. So, in many ways we can say that there is a need of fraud analytics in the current era due to the increase in the number of transactions, due to the time constraint, due to the cost efficiency. We need to include the fraud analytics in each and every transactions, and it will help it will help further to the security agencies and the law enforcement agencies in the investigations. So, by this way we can say that yes, the need of fraud analytics is very important. So, why we are talking about fraud analytics, the objective of fraud analytics, why it is important. Fraud analytics helps to identify the first primary objective of the fraud analytics is to identify the unusual transactions, the deviations from normal pattern and the inconsistencies in the financial data. These anomalies serve as early warning signals of potential fraud. So, the fraud analytics help to identify the anomalies, the irregularities, the, uh, the, the unusual patterns in the early stage of the transactions. Fraud analytics also helps uncover hidden or complex fraud schemes that may not be obvious through surface level examination. Surface level examination means the usual manual examination in which the whole data set cannot be examined. So, at the surface level examination, the deep or the complex fraud schemes have not been detected. So, for that the fraud analytics comes into a picture and it will help to the investigator to help the complex fraud as well. The fraud analytics also helpful to the pattern recognition, the trade analytics, the trend analytics, the clustering technique. So, these techniques, these all the procedures allow the investigators to detect repeated or structured fraud behavior. Next is fraud analytics also support the forensic investigations by providing data driven insight and prioritizing high risk transactions. It help investigators focus their effort on the most suspicious areas and build strong evidence based cases. So, these cases may be helpful to the prosecution as well. Fraud analytics, the insight of fraud analytics help organization identify the control weaknesses and improve the internal processes. So, if there is any at any point of time the organization think that there is a chance of improvement of the internal weaknesses, the organization can think of. By understanding how fraud occurs, organization can design a strong preventive control and monitoring system in the organization. So, once the organization identify that this is the loophole or this need to be improved or by this way we can prevent the fraud. So, by many ways the fraud analytics help the organizations. So, organization, the fraud analytics play an important role in the forensic accounting. the data analytics, the fraud analytics play a centered role in the fraud detection by enabling the examination of complete data set rather than a small sampling. Analytics tool help identify the trend, help identify the outliers and suspicious transactions that are not visible through the manual review. By applying algorithm, the different type of ratios and pattern recognition techniques, forensic professional can detect early warning signals of fraud more accurately and efficiently. So, it also help in it also allow the forensic accountants to examine the individual transactions in detail rather than rely only on the samples, because in the fraud analytics the investigators try to analyze the whole data set. So, the forensic accountant are able to understand the whole data set uh, and rely on the data set through the deep analysis. This increase the accuracy and help the identify small and reputed fraudulent activities. The next is continuous monitoring, which involve the real time and periodic analysis, the analysis of the transactions to detect the fraud in the early stage. Fraud analytics tool automatically scan the new data and generate alert and the warning signals for the suspicious activities. Fraud analytics are not only helpful in the analysis, but it also strengthens the investigation by providing the objective data driven evidences. Analytics result help support continuous, justify the suspicious and present finding clear duration legal processes. After the analysis and the evidence based analysis, the fraud analytics support litigation by producing visual reporting. It also provide the analysis summary, it also provide the transactions reconstructions that are easy for court and legal authorities to understand. These output strengthen forensic reporting and expert testimonies. So, the role of forensic the fraud analytics in the forensic accounting is very crucial. Let us understand the types of fraud analytics, what types of fraud analytics has been done, or what are the different type of fraud analytics has been used in the fraud analytics part. So, there are four which are majorly types of fraud analytics used by the forensic accountant: descriptive analytics, diagnostic analysis, the predictive analytics and the prescriptive analytics. Let us understand by one. Descriptive analysis are focused on the summarization of the historical data to understand what has already happened. It uses reports, it uses dashboard, it uses chart to highlight the transactional trend. It also highlights the frequencies and the pattern of the data. This type of analysis provide a basic overview of the financial activity. So, for example, the monthly or quarterly summary of total revenue, total units sold, or year over year, what are the growth of the organization, that can be understood by the descriptive analysis. If we talk about the social media metrics, so it also helpful in to identify the due diligence process, or the social media matrices where the company or the individual count the like, share, followers and engagement rates on the post. In the hospitality, the reports on patient demographics, treatment outcomes and the resource utilization are the examples of descriptive analysis. Another example is calculating average test score for the class to understand the performance of the whole class. So, various type of tools like the mean or the median can be analyzed, can be applied on this type of data to score the test. Another analytics is diagnostic analytics. Diagnostic analytics examine why certain event occurs or why the anomalies has been done. So, it involves the deeper analysis of transactions data to identify root cause, to identify the correlation and the contribution factors behind the irregular pattern or the suspicious activity. So, diagnostic means, for example, if there is a system failure, so running if there is a failure in the system, so running diagnostic to find the specific software or hardware fault causing a system breakdown. Or for example, HR analyze the survey to find specific issues, for example, lack of psychological safety in the certain terms, or the lack of environment, good environment, or the salary issues or the leave issues, any type of issues cause the low morale of the employee in the organization. So, these are the examples of diagnostic where the investigator try to find the root cause of the event. The next is predictive analytics. Predictive analytics uses the historical data, statistical models and machine learning to forecast future fraud risk. It help identify high risk customers, the suspicious transactions or business area before fraud actually occur. For example, if a banking company if a financial fintech company assessing credit risk, assessing detecting detecting the fraud, or algorithm trading or predictive market movement to identify the suspicious activities. Another example, if a insurance company detecting fraudulent claims, tailored policies and forecasting claim probabilities from the employee, from the customers. It also helpful, another example is to identifying the potential risk in lending the insurance companies or cyber securities, which will be helpful to the risk management. So, these are the examples of predictive analytics. Prescriptive analytics goes a step forward by the recommending action based on the analytical result. It suggested preventive measures, it suggested the control improvements, it suggested the investigation priorities to reduce the fraud risk and improve the decision making. For example, in the financial organization or the banks, the system automatically detecting fraud or assessing credit risk and recommending action to mitigate the loan defaults. Or in, for example, in the transportation or airline industry, dynamically pricing tickets is one of the example, where optimizing flight schedule or finding the most fuel effective routes based on the weather, based on the demand and based on the competitor data. So, these are the few examples where we can say that the fraud analytics have been done through the different analytics or based on what is the requirement of the data. Different analytics having the different modus operandi, having the different methodology to do it. So, the one type of analytics may be applicable to the same type of situation where the requirement of the particular fraud analytics type. What is the requirement of the case, what is the requirement of the investigation process, what is the requirement of the forensic accountant, accordingly they choose the types of fraud analytics. So, in the next episode we will be learn about the different type of different more type of analytics in the fraud analytics point of view. See you in the next episode. Thank you.